on Micah.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned a little bit of that yesterday.
Yeah,
You mentioned
yeah.
Micah's, the prophecy from Micah.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
When I get to interview, are we on yet?
Yeah, we just started, yeah.
Oh, well, I get to interview Kirkwood today.
Oh, is that right?
Because Kirkwood had the service yesterday.
Oh, my, how
So I have got my whole list of musical questions right
wow,
here.
this is new.
Yeah,
My,
yeah.
how the turns have tabled.
I just want to know, on the song that Jordan sang,
Okay.
Come Jesus Come,
Right.
why is this in E? I just want to know, is there a theological reason why this is played in the key of E?
Well, I won't insult your intelligence, but for our listeners at home, we all know that the original song is in the key of G.
Oh, it's
Right.
in G.
The original
Well,
is
why
in
is this in E then?
Because
See, that's why inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah. Well, the funny answer to that is actually because it was the most convenient key, because harmonicas are only in one key at a time. You have to have a different harmonica for each key.
Now, you are kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. That's the
Now,
way.
hey,
Learn
you learn
something.
something every day.
So I texted Jordan. I was like, "Which harmonicas do you have?" Because he had told me he had lost a few, and he said, "All I have is E and C." And I said, "Well, let's try it in E."
So you mean to tell me, in all honesty, that you can't play but in one key on a
Well,
a hum, and hum,
a harmonica.
a
I don't know.
harmonica?
So, okay, you got to get the Hebrew H in the harmonica. Sounds like.
So, how'd you hear that?
I think I had an uncle.
Going through
I think I
the-
had an uncle named Harmonica. So, golly. Now, you can play in more than one key on a harmonica, but you have to be really good, because that means that you're playing individual notes, and you're doing bends, and you're doing it. So, I'm saying that Jordan is very good. I'm just saying there was no need. There was no need for him to try to flex
that
and
was
play a
the
different key.
coolest thing yesterday. When I got back here to the office and I heard him singing that song, and I loved the melody. There's something in that melody I
Yeah.
really like, and I like the words to it. I like the message in it. But so I walked back in. I turned around at the office and I came back in there just to hear him sing it. And then when he pulled out that harmonica,
It's cool, isn't
I
it?
thought, this is just wild. It was really good. The whole thing yesterday was extremely good. But see, you've had so many people tell you that.
I know. You don't want to get my head any bigger than it
No,
already is.
that's right. And I thought when you did the song Man of Sorrows, I thought that was so good too. And it fit in perfectly.
Yeah, well,
Right there with the crucifixion and the resurrection. And
Now, did you grow up at all?
yes, I did
You
grow
did.
up. I did.
Is this how it feels when I interview you? Just like cutting in, cutting in, and just. Okay, I received my comeuppance, but like when I was coming up, like Christmas time, it's like when you just talk about the birth and that's it. You talk about the birth. Wow, isn't the birth amazing?
Yeah.
And I don't know, as I've gotten older, it's like you can't have a complete gospel presentation if you're just talking about the birth.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because I think of all the other stuff too. But you're right. When I was growing up in church, it was just about the birth. I'm going to look this coming Sunday. I'm going to go back to eternity past. I'm going to look, and of course, you've got passages. There's a passage in Proverbs 8 that is a fascinating passage.
Oh, okay.
Beginning in verse 22, it says, "The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way." You read this down in Proverbs 8, he's talking about wisdom. But there's a line in there where you shift from wisdom till you begin to talk. He begins to talk about Messiah.
Oh,
and you
interesting.
begin to blend wisdom and Messiah. Now,
Yeah.
Jesus is not just wisdom personified. None of that hokey.
Well, he's not simply that.
No. But Jesus is the wisdom of God.
Of course.
And
of
as you
course.
go through this, you kind of really are having to concentrate. Now, is he talking about the coming Messiah? Is he just talking about
Right.
godly wisdom here, or the wisdom of the Messiah? It's a really fascinating passage. And I thought I almost went with that passage too. But you would constantly have to be pointing out, now wait, man, he's shifted back over here. Well, he's shifted back over this way. So that's better for a study time.
I feel like you and me have stumbled upon something, or rather, I've stumbled into your mind or something like that with the pre-incarnate Christ and the idea of Advent, the first Advent, the second Advent, because it just seems like you've been particularly dialed into what we're talking about with the music in this season, and you're even preaching on that, the 15th, 22nd. I think it's really cool.
Well, I think the Lord does that. There are a lot of times you get up and you lead something on Sunday morning, never really knowing, I don't think, because you choose the music ahead of time before I often finish my sermons. And I don't know what you're going to sing. I don't know what you're doing, but it seems to just dovetail.
Yeah.
I think that's the Lord.
I think it's the Lord too.
It's the mind mail.
Yes, that's absolutely right. We won't do that in front of the cameras.
That's
So,
a pagan idea.
Couple things worth. Was it you that showed me that meme of Kirk and Spock with their sweaters?
No, I didn't see that.
Did you see that?
No.
Where Spock looks at Kirk, and they're both wearing Christmas sweaters for some reason. It must be from like one of the later movies. And Spock is like, the very idea of a sweater is illogical. You only get one sweater, but it takes 3 sheep to make it. And Kirk is like, I didn't even know that they could knit. But he probably was like, I didn't know that they could knit.
Have you seen him lately, William Shatner?
Is he still alive?
Oh, my stars, yeah.
Wow. He's
got to be in his 90s.
He did this spoken word poetry album with Ben Folds, who was like one of my favorite piano players when I was in college.
Was it humor? I mean, was it comedy?
It was called, I can't remember what it was called, but it was...
That guy's been a pretty amazing, you don't hear an awful lot about him, but he's been a pretty versatile, interesting entertainer.
Well, the story about how he got the role of Captain Kirk is that he was in a production of Macbeth, and apparently he was an understudy, so he came in at the last minute, and he couldn't remember his lines. And so as he was saying things, it would be delayed as he would remember what he was speaking. And the reviewer, I'm serious about this, the reviewer loved it. Like, there's such consternation and emotion in his performance of Macbeth, and it launched his whole career.
And so he just kept that up.
He just kept doing it.
That's interesting. Now that's pretty interesting.
I'm pretty sure it was Macbeth. It might have been King Lear.
That he was kind of pausing all through that.
He's 93. The Ben Folds album Has Been.
It's called Has Been?
Yes.
It was at least 20 years ago.
And he's still working.
Came out, that's exactly 20 years ago. Yeah, listen, is that not part of the secret to longevity?
I think so.
Yeah, this is why I'm grateful you're going to be pastoring here for another 4 years.
No, that ain't happening.
I just am thrilled about that. You should at least do what Juan Soto did. Give us another 15 years, Pat. Did you see that? Juan Soto just signed the richest contract in sports history.
I did.
$765 million.
They paid him up through the next 15 years.
Yeah. Did you see who he was trending with, though? Bobby Bonilla. Do you know about that whole thing?
No.
Jared, you know about that, right?
Who's Bobby?
Bobby Bonilla. You don't know who Bobby Bonilla is? Oh, he was this big-time slugger in the 90s. Well, his last contract was with the Mets. And so somehow when they were trying to release him, because he's getting old and he's old for a ball player anyway, they tried to release him, and his agent renegotiated his contract. And they signed it without looking at it. So they had to pay him compounding interest. So Bobby Bonilla even though he's been retired for at least 15 years, he gets a check for $2 million from them, at least for the next 15 years. I mean, it goes well into the new
when
century.
I read that this morning, I thought to myself, this guy's not going to be playing ball for the next 15 years.
How could he?
There's no way he's going to be doing that.
He's
So they have
41.
got something figured into that, I'm sure.
So, Shohei's contract set up.
Shohei Ohtani, yeah, he makes like nothing right now.
And then he'll make like $30 million.
It's all at the end, and they'll restructure it.
Wonder why
after
churches
that.
don't do it that way.
Your contract isn't structured that way?
I don't even have a contract.
Need to talk with Jeff.
All right, are
No.
you ready for the
Hey, I love-
check on your story?
Okay, we're getting the fact check. This is live fact checking. This is the MSNBC version. Okay. Henry V, not Macbeth. I'm sorry.
Also, similar interest, I think, is that he was replacing Christopher Plummer.
He was replacing
Oh,
Christopher
wow.
Plummer on
who made
stage.
Kidney Stones.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness! But
Well,
the rest is right, correct? Like the reviewer was
He
like, "This is
William
amazing."
Shatner, He was acting.
He was.
Yeah.
I deserve it. I already said that I deserve it.
Yes, yes.
I'm reading the latest biography on Henry V right
Yeah.
now. It is really
Not
good.
the 8th, Henry V.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I've got Henry VIII coming up right behind
So
this.
I feel like most people are familiar with Henry VIII.
Yeah.
I am at least. What was Henry V? What was his marker? What was?
Well, he's the guy that fought the Battle of Agincourt and defeated the French. You know, he makes that great speech, you know, we brothers, we
countryman.
band of brothers, you know. Every man who lives in England will hold their something.
He's still in the midst of reading this book.
No, this is from Shakespeare.
Oh, I see.
Will count themselves accursed that they were not with us on St. Crispin's Day.
Oh, very
The
nice.
battle was on St. Crispin's Day. And he makes a
Look that up.
grand and glorious speech. I had a teenager in Jacksonville who could quote that whole thing. I just marveled at him.
Shakespeare's incredible.
It is incredible, especially if you've got somebody who understands it and they read it
Yeah.
or they quote it
Yeah.
in a dramatic fashion. That is the way we
Right.
think Shakespeare would wrote.
And
And
that's
then it makes a
difficult to do.
lot more sense.
It really does, but it's difficult to do that. You know, I watched this. It was like this documentary about how they were actually performing some of his works, obviously in the Globe Theatre in London, but they were doing it in the Old English. They were doing it with the pronunciation of the day, and it is wildly
Oh
different.
my word! It is.
Wildly
It is hard. I had in my doctoral studies, I had to read. Who was the great French preacher? Why can't I think of his name? Anyway,
The great French preacher.
yes.
John Calvin.
No. I went to John Calvin's house this last trip when I was in.
Yeah?
Yeah, Strasbourg. No. What was his name?
Great French preacher.
I think he buried Louis XIV.
Louis XIV's.
Fenelon.
Of course.
I had to read Fenelon's book on preaching, translated from the French
Oh, my
into
gosh.
the Old English.
Into the Old
and they
English.
could not get me an English copy of that, and I had to work through it in the Old English, and I thought I was going to go mad. And I told my professor, I'll get you a copy. Well, the class was, I had to have it for the class before he ever got me the book. Well, he had forgotten about it naturally. Anyway, boy, so when you mention Old English, people think that's nothing to that. It's difficult. It's difficult at best.
That is tough. Can I give a couple more director's notes about the
Yeah,
show?
yeah. Tell me, please. Give
So,
us behind
couple
the
things.
scenes.
We want to get as far behind the scenes as possible.
yeah.
Okay, well, number one, if you literally go behind the scenes, you will find very little because our stage pushes so far back to that wall. But number two, it seems like everybody's talking about the Trans-Siberian Orchestra piece that led off the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which when I put that on there, I told Caleb and Josh, who have really owned their role as as Israel's spies, Joshua and Caleb, them playing the guitar together. They talk about that a lot. I was like, we could do this. We don't have to. But I couldn't even finish my statement. They were like, we're doing it. You already put it on the list. We're doing it. And they told me later when they started practicing it, they were like, why did we agree to this?
Well, they
It
did.
was so hard. I know
they did an
awesome.
excellent job. It was great. Everybody loved it.
Some of the things that are the most interesting to me are the ways that we arrange the pieces and then even rewrite some of the lyrics so it fits with the flow. You mentioned the Come Jesus Come arrangement.
Yeah.
We renamed it to Messiah Come because if you put it in an Old Testament context, obviously the name Yeshua, they weren't ready for that one yet. So I thought that was cool.
Lion was a great song.
The thing about that is that I mean, I loved it. It's just,
All of this was, well, there are a few pieces that are not, but a lot of this was new stuff, right?
Oh yeah,
New music.
Yeah, most of it. I think most of it was new. The Lion obviously was new. There's not enough of those good like prophecy settings that I found recently. So that one was one of the first ones we decided we were going to do. And then you had the Behold Him piece. That's one of my personal favorites. I told this to Joe. And she and I rewrote the lyrics to the verses on that one to make it a little bit more appropriate for the context.
While you're there, we must exonerate Brock Armstrong.
What happened to Brock Armstrong?
It was not his fault that my mic was not on at the beginning of the song in the first service,
Oh, really?
It was not his fault. How is it your fault?
because I grabbed the wrong mic.
You grabbed the wrong microphone. Wow. So Joanna was singing. You still did a beautiful job.
Well, I did. You know what? I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, they were out of order, and so, of course, not only was it not on, but then I wasn't in my ears, so I had to, because I had the wrong.
He found it very quickly,
He found
though.
it very quickly, so
Well,
I
and-
do want to make sure, everybody always assumes that's the sound person's fault. That was not his fault, it was my fault.
So, and that's a good segue into honoring our tech team, because all of this work is done custom. Like, we fit the things together. Like, we don't just buy a package from Lifeway. Like, we fit all the pieces together. Jared does the visuals, and then Josh Pike syncs it up to the metronome track for all of the music. And then, and for anybody that was watching online, it was by far our best online presentation we've ever had. Spencer Dunn did a just wonderful job with
After
the
the
video.
first service, I got a note from a guy in his late 80s from Florida who says the best presentation he had ever seen.
Well, it's definitely the best that we have ever done. You know, I mean, obviously our team, we've got the most critical eyes. We can still see some of the seams, but for the first time, I feel like we were seeing all the instruments as they were being played, and I want to honor Spencer with that. And then, of course, Ralph Schrock, who does the lighting design, just did an exquisite job, and I was so pleased with. And Jeff McGuckin would want me to remind everybody that, like, this is a volunteer team. You know, Josh Pike is our technical director, but and Jared's on staff as well. Dylan's a resident, but you know, we don't pay him anything. I'm just joking. We do. I was just trying to make fun of him. But there's so many, like Ralph and Spencer and the others. Like, they're just doing this out of their love for the Lord, and they've become so skilled in it, Pastor.
Yeah,
It's
they
just
have.
so it was the tightest technical production that we've ever done. So it's onward and upward. I was really
And
pleased with
Dylan's, of course, is sitting over there. His first song, really, you know, and
Yeah.
and I thought about that. Man, you're coming behind that Trans-Siberian
it. Yeah,
piece with this real calming.
yeah. Juxtaposition.
Yeah, you know, I thought, boy, that really shifts from one thing to the next thing, and you did a great job at that, Dylan.
Yeah, we were trying to do that. You know, the up and down, have a dramatic flow. You know, you
And
have
the
just
kids were really good.
Man, it is so encouraging. I looked at it online, and it's overwhelming how many kids are singing out there.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just such a sign of life for this church.
It is. It is. I went back, of course, every time I see them, I go back and think about the first little group that we, you know, I encourage you, let's do a little something with children.
Well,
and the little group that was there, and then yesterday, you know, Deb came in, she sat down, and she said, wow, look at all those children up there.
Well, and I remember the first time that you were like, why don't we have a children's choir? I couldn't even do it. I was stretched so thin. We didn't have the volunteers that could really make it happen. And we had these wonderful women that stepped up, and most of them are still doing it. You know, Caroline Wallace and Kristen Howell have been leading the preschool choir, and they've committed for years to come. And Amanda Tuck, who did a couple solos yesterday, she leads the kids choir with Michelle Magny and Lindsay Cruz. And it's just a great group of people, just humble people that desire the glory of the Lord, that desire to share the gospel. It's just we're in a good church.
We really
We're in a
do.
good
We
church,
have a
Pastor.
wonderful church. I say that to people, and they say, well, yeah, we expect for you to say that. But behind the scenes, it's really, listen, behind the scenes, it is a wonderful church.
Yeah.
Now, I had a question because
Sure.
I was watching, you know, who would come on and where they would go off and back
Yeah.
and forth and everything. Well, Joe disappeared.
Right.
And then she reappeared. And I kept watching to see, now how's she going to get back up there? Because she's going to have to go through all these. Is there a way back up on the back of that new stage?
We made a way.
Oh, you made a way.
Did you step up in between the bars?
Yes.
Is that what you?
Jordan and I both did that because it was such a hassle to get down. And
Yeah.
we're both tall, so we
Yeah.
had to stand in the back.
Yeah.
And so we put a chair, right
Oh,
here
okay.
and just stepped.
Well, I thought,
That's a
because
great
we've got
idea.
these new risers,
Yes.
the new riser, I thought maybe they could load from the back. You could just come back.
Well,
up in
maybe we
there.
could build something like that.
Yeah.
The new risers are, so we realized that we have one more kink to work out with the risers this week. But that's actually what led to Joe's escape hatch, which is, so it actually ended up working out for good, Josh Pike, see? Because we were really having some heartburn over it. We couldn't get them to fit together correctly.
Well, I kept watching because I wanted to know, how did they get back on there
Yeah.
without me
I
seeing
didn't even
them?
know they were doing that.
And so I kept watching for Joe to come back. I watched. And then I must have looked away, and I looked back, and there she is tucked in behind somebody like this. And I thought, well, dadgum, has she
You're
been
trying-
there the whole time?
You're trying. I love thinking
She
it.
just appears and disappears.
I love hearing it from your perspective. Yeah, I didn't even get a chance to think about that.
Next year we're getting those little elevating trapdoors.
Yes.
just-
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
Well,
just
I knew
like,
we had new risers, and I thought, well, maybe they've got a way that they do that. So, anyway, great. We had several people saved yesterday.
Yeah.
I had a number of people
Yeah.
raise their hands in both services yesterday.
Did anybody come talk to you about it?
No, but that's not a
wouldn't.
surprise
Yeah.
because I was
You're probably
caught up.
swamped,
I was
yeah.
caught up with, everywhere I turned, I was caught with
That
something
was,
or
that
somebody.
was me too. It was one of those. Well, there's a lot of guests, you know.
There
you know,
were. There were.
which was good. A lot of great family members, people expressing their appreciation. It was cool. And yeah, my final stamp on that whole thing is, I've already sort of said it. I'll say it again. I just can't believe the generosity and the skill of all the volunteers that we have, and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm going to do my best when I see all of them this week to just pass on that same gratitude, because everybody comes and thanks me for this thing, and I mean, it's encouraging to me, but obviously it cannot be done without everybody involved.
Well, the last thing was the Forever song.
Yeah,
And then it just stops.
yeah, it's not long enough. Yeah.
It just
For
kind
a
of
song.
stops. There's no,
We-
nothing at the end that kind of,
Kind of a denouement.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have had that. We were,
kind of a what?
denouement.
Denouement.
That's the it's a French term for like the time of resolution after the climax of the story.
You've heard it right here.
Oh.
You don't get this stuff anywhere else.
It's like a cortado, like a French baguette.
See,
It's not like
they're
that.
speaking French in here today.
Yeah. Jared's French.
When they
is
go to,
very
listen,
different.
when I get around the French, it's time for me to get out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Olympics taught us something. I think, yeah, the point is, though, yeah, next year the finale's going to be long. I think we're going to bring back the Hallelujah chorus
Did I
next year.
tell y'all I sat by the French ambassador to the UN?
When?
Right after that. Back,
Oh, after the Olympics?
yes, right after the Olympics. I told y'all that.
Would you? Oh, I didn't hear. I don't think I told
Really
the story.
neat guy, really nice guy.
Did you tell them they need to tone down the
He
rampant
is-
sexuality in their opening ceremonies?
No, he told me that.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
he really did. He's a military guy. He is like the head of their military something. I don't know why. He's been here in the States for 15 years. And
So we've naturalized it.
He and I had a great conversation. He loves American history. He loved he wrote a book on the Battle of Yorktown.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I told him I wanted a copy, but he never offered me one. Just French.
So do the French still brag about that? How they're the reason that we're
Well, he
independent?
does. He does. No, they don't. That's why he's so rare. That's why I even, speak of his name in hallowed tones.
Lafayette?
Yeah, Rochambeau and
Oh,
Lafayette
yeah.
and the French fleet. And I had the most enjoyable time sitting by him and talking to him.
That's cool.
I just walked away from that saying there's one Frenchman with whom I feel mon frere,
Well, we really covered it today. This
We
has
did.
Been, this has really
we
been
covered
fun.
everything but the Bible.
We
today.
we got in there. We got to Proverbs 8. I like that. So so this Sunday mini series
Yeah.
begins. We've got Love Incarnate, Love Divine, and you're talking through the pre-existent Christ,
yeah,
which is
I'm gonna look at that.
an important doctrinal principle, the gospel implications of that. We've got more Christmas music. It's our last normal midweek on Wednesday night. If you're a choir member and you're watching this, yes, we're still getting together on Wednesday night. And then next Wednesday night is going to be the Christmas party,
Yeah.
which you knew that
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
The Christmas party. And then the Christmas Eve services are on the horizon.
Yeah, they
That's
are.
going to be beautiful.
Golly. It's just hard, as I was saying before you got in here, it's hard to believe it's already here.
I'm
It's
loving
just,
it.
It's here, it's on top of us, you know. Anyway,
All right. Well, Pastor and I got a lot of work to do, with reorganizing our contracts and all. So we're going to go figure out how to get that done to make sure that both of
we
us are
just
here
want
for
half.
at least
We just want half of what? What's his name?
Juan Soto. I feel like that's totally reasonable. We could even split the half.
Yeah, we could. We could do that.
We're gonna
That
get
should
right
be
on it.
able to get me a private jet. Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like Kenneth Copeland's got one.
Yeah.
Creflo Dollar's got one.
Yeah, you're going to have to cut all this. We love you guys. See you later.
Leave it on.
Leave it on. Leave it all in.